We are doing a whole day dedicated to the role that cards play in the world of modern money. Stabledash Live is a modern money show, so we spend a lot of our time covering founders, teams, builders in this space who are building things like on-chain card programs. So today is really sponsored by Arculus and the Compo Secure team. So give me a sense of where that might fit into the business at Karta, and then bring us into what Karta is for those who are just getting to know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So about how Compo fits in our role. Compo makes the best credit cards. Our metal cards made from Compo. Kudos to them. So a bit about Karta. Karta is the credit card, we call it, for the private banks. Some of the largest private banks in the world distribute our credit card on our behalf to international clients. So, we have a B2B2C model that allows us to go global from day one, capturing, I call it the world's wealthiest customers from all over LATAM, Europe, and Asia through our 70 plus private wealth management network. So all of this without having to sell stable coins or crypto in any sense. We think that's the best way to deliver and bridge the gap between stables and TradFi. We have some of the biggest spenders in the world using our credit card, and we don't have to even tell them about that. Yes, it's powered by stable coins.
Biggest spenders in the world. All right, I'm gonna have to ask about that. On that topic, what does that mean? How do you know that they're the biggest spenders? Like, these are businesses, these are high net worth individuals. How are you measuring that? And what does the user base look like right now? Maybe more broadly.
So it's high net worth individuals for now. We're hoping to launch corporate cards at some. But basically, we go to this rationale, make our is on their brokerage account, and every single they open an account for you. So I can't name all the banks that we have, but let's say tier one bank, one of the top 5 banks in the world. In order for you to open an account with them, you need to have at least $10 million sitting with them. So these are the clients that we're getting. Clients from the wealth banks that have accounts. And the bigger your brokerage account, larger is your spend. 9.9% of the users are users. So we call it the world's top spenders.
Yeah. Give us a sense of like where in the world you're targeting when you're thinking about growth, when you're thinking about user adoption. Where are you based? We were at the top of the show talking with Liz who leads business development on the MetaMask card, and something we were discussing with her is just like how unique go-to-market is for different parts of the world, and how you bring. We were talking specifically for her about like Brazil, other parts of Latin America. What does that look like for you guys, and how you're growing card adoption?
So for us, naturally, here in Miami, and the majority of our partner banks are sitting in Miami as well. Naturally, the vast majority of clients as of now it's LATAM. We're trying to conquer most of the LATAM corridor, but we could expand through our same partner banks into Europe and Asia as well. Within LATAM, naturally, Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia are the largest customer. From LATAM, at least, we have a very large Brazil customer base.
And where does that become personal in terms of why that is the case? Do you feel like that was an intentional move on your part in terms of how you built and deployed this? Or is this something that you feel like is more due to the role that the functionality of these cards have in that part of the world? What's the balance there in your view?
Yeah, so there's a common problem that happens in Brazil, that when you issue credit cards, when you travel, their use roughly goes from 6 to 10% every time you swipe the card when you travel. Karta offers you the flexibility of paying your credit card in the US from a US bank account, or you can also pay local. Fixes like this, a Zelle equivalent that exists in Brazil. Basically, we collect on fiat and the stable coins, and then we settle. Without launching this idea of this business about, and solve these sort of problem. Brazil had the most sophisticated legal infrastructure to cards, USD coins. Argentina, Mexico, Colombia also very this type of situations, but I think Brazil is leading the race in this type of new infrastructures.
Hmm. You said Brazil is leading the way in your view. Repeat that last part again. Where does that conviction come from?
Yeah, so when we're thinking about where do we launch the pay locally option about how pay your credit card bill, from your own country. Let's say take the example of Argentina. Argentina maybe has a larger pain in the sense that it's your Argentinian credit card when you travel, but Brazil has more than clear laws and how to use stable. And that's not as clear as it's in Brazil. It is, right. So we make the decision. Okay, the impact might be bigger, but it was a lot cleaner, for me to run my compliance from the US in Brazil as well, it was just easier to launch given how clean they are in their loss.
Yeah. Yeah. Give us. I know this is the first time we're talking about Carta itself. Give us some history on the company. What does the team look like right now? What's the current moment of growth that you're in? Is the team distributed? What's the kind of high level of the team and where it stands?
Yeah, the majority of the team is based here in my across Latam, and we have an office and a team in Brazil. Technically 2 years ago, but the idea was born 15 months ago. We end up the year with 40 partner banks that distribute the credit card on our behalf of more than 70. And we want to continue get up to maybe 100 or 150 towards Q3 or Q4. A very small team. We're only 18 people. Maybe we can expand maybe 5 or 6 more guys in the team. That's on marketing, some engineers on the product side. No more than that. We think we can get to a very large business with a very small team. Uh, Announce it very soon. But we just raised a $125 million warehouse facility. We think we are the one of the few companies that's bridging TradFi, a traditional large warehouse lender that power on credit cards for the use case that we have. So effectively, we're taking TradFi lenders, sending fiat into a smart contract that powers our credit cards. I think there's yet to be seen that at a large scale, especially these type of users that we have, right? These ICT. So we're going to use that. That's fun to scale the momentum of our program and close the Latin corridor with the partner banks, and then also replicate the same B2B2C in Europe and Asia as well.
Yeah, let's double click into that specifically. That seems really cool. So break down the more of the technical side of how you've architected this, that specific point around how that smart contract is built and the function it plays. That seems really unique to me. Can you walk us through that start to finish on what that looks like, and maybe what specific capabilities that unlocks for cardholders today or in the future?
Yeah. So basically, any traditional credit card program, they have a warehouse facility where they have a lender, and they have an SPV, and the lender has DACA's control agreements and the bank accounts of the companies. For me, it was complex structure because we are yet to be seen to find a large lender in the crypto space that can give me, a 90 plus advance rates, very low cost of funds at the scale that we operate. So we have to go with the TradFi lender. So it's getting comfortable with the TradFi lender to fund us an SPV for sure. But the SPV is going to fund a smart contract that powers our credit cards. So, we use our great partners, Rain, in this. The money that we have from our lender goes on to power the smart contract that we own through our card issuer, Rain. And through that gives us spending power for the cards. So in that side of things, it was quite challenging to find a TradFi lender to get comfort with our operation. But luckily, because we have such a pristine portfolio, we have, the wealthiest customers in the world, no losses, no delinquencies. They got comfort given the business we're going after. And of course, once they understood the flow of funds and once they understood that we run everything very compliantly, they got comfort and, they gave us, the full 125 to run the business.
125, and this is the size of this warehouse facility that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. I'm actually learning in real time here with you about what is that term warehouse. That's like the word that people use to describe this part of the stack.
Yeah. So basically,
Is that a large warehouse? Is that a small warehouse? Like where does 125 million fit in the like typical curve of like these credit card programs? I
that's a good
genuinely have no idea how
But
to process
I
that.
like to think it's a very decent warehouse. I think most start at 50. We were offering way more, but we think, okay, 125 is a good size. After that, hopefully there'll be more crypto lender, T1 banks that, get comfortable with our program. But
And what
yeah,
does
I
that
think it's a
limit? What
fairly
does that
big
do?
size.
That's like essentially a credit line on behalf of Carta that you guys have in the total sum of those who are on the platform today. Is that what that looks like?
Yeah. So basically we have to power the receivables, which is the asset that we pledge to the lender, right? But fund our users purchase. Basically every swipe they make, all those receivables, all the spend they're making, it's pledged against this. And with the full 125 allow us to power, thousands of users with ICP. So I'd say comparables, I think Ramp on the early days, they raised 150 with Goldman Sachs over the early lines they have. Ours are fairly decent.
Yeah. They've done well. They've been
We
doing
got
well
kind of
lately. They've been. I was joking that Ramp. They've built a good business on top of that. Okay, so walk us through how. I mean, where my mind goes here, if I'm being direct, is like there's a lot of competition heating up in this lane right now for which is great. Like, I think that's awesome. The primitives of things like Arculus, things like Rain, things like stablecoins themselves, or the issuing partners you can work with to embed things like that in these products, like the availability to get to market with something like this, I think is very, in some ways, easier than ever. But in other ways, there are like very, very difficult things on the back end that, things like these warehousing deals. And what are some of those pieces in addition to this warehouse that you feel like are like really key defensible competitive advantages, might be the best way to say it? Like, what are some of those things that you feel like you guys want to do better than everyone else in this category? And what gives you that? Where do you feel like those competitive advantages will be 3 to 5 years time when you're looking back?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I think there are a lot of players doing debit cards, bank accounts, stablecoin contracts as a debit card. I haven't seen much credit cards in this space. So that's one thing. We operate specifically on credit. Everyone's very credit driven. And when was the last time you traveled with that debit card, right? That's one thing. Second thing, I think in this type of businesses is, one silver bullet, and that's distribution. So I think nailing that B2B2C and getting to these type of customers, that Amex and Chase pay $2,000-$3,000 to acquire, me getting them for a fraction of that cost for these partner banks is what key to this business. So I'd say that three modes that Carta has is that one is, distribution that I told you about. I know I scale these type of businesses effectively. And I like to pitch you. There's very large banks that would never sign with a, seed state, a Series B company unless, the need was quite product was good. So nailing the distribution, getting the product is quite important. And third, right, so for me, getting the warehouse, getting comfort from a trust lender into stablecoin cards, get a great advance rate and very low cost of funds, which is quite challenging. So I'd say it's the warehouse, the distribution, and ultimately the product. You need all like a new consumer trends is going on.
And if you're being honest with yourself right now, which of those three are you doing the best at? And which is the one that you feel like you have a needs improvement score if you're being self aware in the business right now?
I'd say we're doing great on the distribution. We're doing great on the product as well, because ultimately, once our user the card, they fell in love with it because of the WhatsApp concierge built on top of it. I'd say we still need to do a better job at our cost of funds, which it's great, but it could be better. It's because it's TradFi and mixed with stable coins. The whole shenanigans is still quite
What
not
is what is
completely.
cost of funds? How do you define what that means? Is that sort of on the partner bank side of the equation? Break that down.
No, it's more so on the lender side of the equation. So it typically starts, sulfur plus. So, so let's say it starts at the first $10 that you consume, it's sulfur plus 2x, then x50 is sulfur plus x. So it goes down over time. So it's basically a benchmark that the lenders use, to price their model. And the premium depends on the riskiness of the model. So when we and look for lenders, we got like 3 or 4 offers. We ultimately went with the best one, but ultimately that's the tricky part. Get to a level of cost of funds that may versus other credit cards in the market.
So if I'm really really dumbing this down to a normal person's mentality, it's sort of like you as a business, Carta, going to what maybe a first time home buyer would do when they go to a lender for their mortgage. It's like you're kind of showing them, hey, here's my income, here are my liabilities, here's kind of the context in which I'm bringing to the table. What's the best rate I can, given market conditions, given all these things, what's the best rate I can have on this mortgage? Is it a similar type of experience that Carta has, where you're bringing like the context of the business, the users, the history of the company, like, and then these lenders are effectively competing and offering a similar type of model back to you, and the lowest one wins, or maybe not even all the time the lowest one wins. I'm sure you guys have to pick the right partner for you. And is that, I know that's oversimplified, but is that directionally correct?
Typically, I'd say yes. So you have like on one side, lenders look at a loan tape, which is our performance, so no losses, no delinquencies. There we pick the best one. Then on the user side, it's more so, at least on my is their brokerage account. That's where our reports. We didn't check income, we didn't check credit score because ultimately they're. But yeah, so conceptually, I think you were there.
Yeah. Distribution you mentioned is a strength. Where do you think that has come from? And how do you plan to maintain and kind of defend that over time?
Yeah, so it's basically delivering great service to the end users. One thing, also great service to the banking partners. So as long as the product is working good and we give them the tools to scale the operations, any issues in there. And also, of course, not launching any products competing to my distribution network. So let's say I have Bank XYZ. I'm not going to offer investment accounts, right now, right? I'm only going to do credit cards, the best credit cards that's out there, the best WhatsApp AI concierge, the best corporate card. As long as we, know our place in that sort of things, I think the distribution is going to remain intact.
You've mentioned the WhatsApp concierge a few times. Talk a little bit about this and maybe for like a US focused audience, how impactful doing something like that is to the success of Karta today. Like what is that feature and why is it strategically important?
Yeah, because ultimately the card is just to wedge and to get into. But ultimately, different is that it sounds trivial and Latinos even breed. The entire card during the activation, notifications, reversals, disputes, chargebacks happen on WhatsApp. And also the card has a concierge on top of it, also on WhatsApp. So it goes from book me flights, book me hotels, book me a car rental. Can you call this company that's charging me twice? I need to call full multi-agent operation that, do stuff on your behalf. And that all that happens through WhatsApp. The same way that, WeChat is like the super app of in Asia, right? I think WhatsApp moved towards that in Latam and hopefully in the US at some point. So entire credit card experience happens in WhatsApp. And that's like all the credit cards in the market.
Really? Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking here on the site. You have AI assistants. Karta AI is an intelligent financial assistant providing AI driven financial insights, automated transactions, in-app customer support. So it sounds like you have like, is that the same thing as you're talking about this, or is that a separate part of the platform? This like AI assistant.
That's pretty much it. It's an assistant that handles
Okay.
everything for you. We had a customer yesterday. I need to pay my BVI company renewal ship. Here's the link. Can you make the payment for me? So the agent goes in the website and we generate a one-time use card just for that payment. We make the payment on your behalf, right? So you can think of that an agent, a concierge can do for you. We do it through WhatsApp.
That's so cool. How we reported I think last week on some of these agent-based payment methods that we've seen Ramp pretty notably start coming out with in their beta with stablecoins. How are you guys thinking about that right now? Is that from like for me sounds really unique that you would be able to issue a card number for a specific payment only. Seems like when I hear that, I'm like, that doesn't sound very cheap. That seems like a very expensive way to do it. But maybe that kind of feeling is wrong, because talk a little bit about how you're making that work. You're issuing a card number for these individual payment requests. These agents are going and using these cards to spend. This personally for me sounds amazing because I'm in the camp of like a user where I'm like, I will pay a premium to trust someone to do this for me. But it also kind of gives me a little bit of like red flags, like how are you securing this? Where are the limits around this? Like, but it's so fascinating. Just let's double click into here a little bit. Would love to better understand how you're making this work.
I think you have to invite my co-founder, the CTO, to give you like a full overview. But basically, the
Yeah.
principle was our main goal is to make. I mean, as much as Rab is making you save time and money, we'll save time. We don't want you to lift a finger of anything in your financial life, whether it's paying for your kid's school, whether it's paying a renewal on your BVI and Davis company that you have abroad, sending flowers to your girlfriend through WhatsApp. The principle is behind we want to do everything for you. Your assistant, And if you have your what you like to buy, where you like to shop, we have your card information. We can pretty much do everything for you. And that sort of things. We have great processors. We have great resources to handle this in a very safely way. But it's more so coming from the principle that we want to be there for the user. And for example, let's say Amex used to own this corridor, the B2B2C is called Amex IDs. Even if Amex comes back to the business, let's say, even if Amex is offered for free, our users want to stick with Karta because of the level of service that we give. They don't want to switch. So it's more so, being convenient for the user.
Do you think that's going to be the driving or one of the driving narratives for why someone would want to download this? Like, are you going to lead pretty hard with this? Like, I'm looking at the site right now, and AI assistance is kind of like in this feature category. Feels like it's kind of a cherry on top of why you would use Carta. For me, this sounds like a very core, like I would just use this for this purpose. Are you guys thinking about leading or maybe even spinning off this in like a specific brand with a specific identity? Have you thought about that? I mean, this just seems like such an important, like psychological role to play in someone's financial life.
So to me, mostly advertise the card, like the card works is going to be good for you. You're going to have it on WhatsApp. We try not to expand so much on the, otherwise, maybe you're going to get confused or maybe you don't believe me. Just, get the card, use it. You play around with the concierge, see how much we can do for you. And once that happens, the user falls in love with the product, right? How to communicate these properly of how much we can do for you. But for now, the user needs a proper credit card that has a very high spending power. They can go buy, I don't know, 150 bucks in one single transaction. That's what the card is tailored for these type of users. And then once there's this called the concierge, is okay, and not on service, right? But to your point, I think not right now, but ultimately we need to, let people know that these type of features exist.
Do you kind of like a last question here? Do you think this whole conversation around agentic commerce or the relationship between agents performing actions financially on behalf of users, is that something that as you've built this product directly, you are realizing like there's magic here that is unpriced and like this is a kind of a gravitational shift? Or are you more in the camp of like, this is nice, this is more of a feature, people are kind of overhyping this? Like where do you fall within those two camps?
The first count for sure. Every time, like I told you, we don't advertise this to anyone. We don't even notify the user that this exists. And we have a Slack channel of all the conversation, all the tasks that the users are asking our agent. It's unlimited, the amount of stuff they ask. I mean, I gave you the example about paying the subscription on the BDI, sending flyers to the mom. It's just exponential. I think I'm on the first count. I'm still amazed of how these agents perform. I don't think it's overhyped
That's
at
wild.
all.
That's wild. Okay. Super, super interesting. I know we have to pause here and probably do a part two to this. Any final thoughts on what people can expect from Carta in the coming months? It sounds like you have a CTO that's very involved, like product features or anything that people can be looking forward to in the near future as we close.
I would say we had at first the restriction only for Latin customers. We're about to roll it out to European and Asian customers as well. So, if you have a brokerage account at one of these partner banks that we're going to announce, it's a part of yourself.
Awesome. Well, Freddie, thank you for the time. Really appreciate you joining us on this show. And I'm excited to watch this grow. The idea of features like this get me excited as someone who is definitely in the market for like an EA or something like it, but probably doesn't have enough budget to afford a great one. So this is like a perfect tool for me. But yeah, man, thanks for joining us on our card focused day here at Arculus. Really appreciate it. Yeah, man. We'll have you guys back on soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.